there, good evening. Thank you for joining us. On tonight's programme, frustration from residents over revived plans to turn a disused North Yorkshire RAF base into a centre for asylum seekers. New demands to tackle an accident black spot on the A1 in Northumberland after a number of fatal crashes. Wildfire warning, the emergency workers preparing for another warm weekend after days of record-breaking heat. And the end of the line. We've been on board as the original Tyne metro trains made their final journeys. First tonight, controversial plans to house more than 1,000 asylum seekers at a former North Yorkshire airbase have been revived. The Home Office wants to use the old RAF site at Linton-on-Ouse, despite previous assessments concluding it was unfit for purpose. It's part of new immigration reforms, including plans to end the use of hotels for such accommodation. Our reporter Katie Oscroft is in the village for us this evening. Katie, what's been the reaction to this news then?
Well, Amy, the village which surrounds this RAF base is a picture of rural tranquility, but speak to anyone here and they are angry, they are shocked, they are baffled. They thought this was all over, and they stick to their point that this is just the wrong place. In fact, this base is in the heart of the village. You can see there are homes just over that way, there are more on the opposite side, right by the perimeter fence, and people in this community say this place is hard to get into, it's hard to get out of, and that makes it unsuitable. They're dusting off their signs and steeling themselves for another battle. It's 4 years since residents campaigned to get plans to house asylum seekers here overturned.
We need to hope that we can stop this.
And they are going again. How are you feeling this morning?
Devastated. There's no other way to say it, and the community is devastated as well. I know that from the comments I've received personally and the comments that are on our Facebook forum.
Just the shell.
Olga says the action group were blindsided by the government's plans, but the 700 plus residents won't take this lying down.
They're planning on putting, 1,600 males? It's disproportionate. Public transport is minimal. The roads are in an appalling condition.
Well, this is the perimeter fence of the former RAF site, and these are the nearest houses. Some people here moved in quite recently because they knew that plans to house asylum seekers here had been scrapped.
We moved here fully knowing that, the asylum seekers aren't coming and this, that and the other. It's like heaven here, to be quite, and we love it here, but if need be, we're going to have to move again, as simple as that.
I expect to see us here over the weekend, certainly.
4 years ago, the plans brought unwanted attention here. There will be a community police presence over the weekend.
Sadly, we did have people from outside the community come in and making noise within the village that wasn't particularly welcome, and I'm sure that the police have got that side of things under control.
RAF Linton-on-Ouse closed as a military base in 2020. 2 years later, the Home Office announced it was to be turned into a reception and processing centre for up to 1,500 asylum seekers. What followed was a huge backlash. By August the same year, the then Conservative government had backed down. The MP here says this Labour government should do the same.
How are you going to address those technical concerns that were raised 4 years ago and the Home Office agreed with made the site inappropriate? That is a question we need to have answered, because it's not about what the principle about this is, it is about the fact that this has been shown already to be an inappropriate site.
Placing people in the middle of nowhere in large military sites is just not a workable solution. People will need access to all sorts of services, and it's much harder to do that, whether it's English lessons or medical help. It's hard to do that if they're in a site that's isolated from everyone else and being there for months on end.
There is little outward sign of the anger people feel here, but behind the scenes they are preparing to campaign.
So, Katie, the Labour Party criticised plans to use Linton-on-Ouse in this way when the Conservative government first proposed them. What's been the response today?
Well, they did indeed. I mean, one government minister told us today that they do understand that there is local opposition and that they will consult and engage with people, although that's one thing they have already been accused of failing to do. The minister went on to say that this is all about getting asylum seekers out of hotels.
We made a promise to the British people that we would close all the asylum hotels that the Conservatives opened. At their peak, there were 400. We've closed over half of those now, and today we've announced that we've closed another 20. But whilst we're closing those, of course, we need to accommodate people somewhere, and we're announcing today that we're exploring new military sites which haven't been used for some time for that very purpose.
That was our reporter Katie Oscroft for us this evening in North Yorkshire.
Next, 4 leading Labour politicians in Northumberland have written to the government urging it to convert all the remaining single carriageway sections of the A1 in the county to dual carriageway.
They point out that 8 people have died in crashes on the A1 in Northumberland so far this year and say investment could save countless lives.
Well, our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick is at Westminster. And Tom, there have been similar calls to upgrade the A1 for decades.
That's right, Helen, and the last government repeatedly promised to dual a 13-mile section between Morpeth and Ellingham, but the work never happened. In 2024, this new government cancelled that project, saying it was too expensive. But since then, they've changed how they calculate value for money on investments to try to benefit regions like ours. So now, 2 local Labour MPs, their lead local councillor and the North East Mayor have written to the Chancellor asking her to look again at the A1. Ultimately, they want work to start on full dualling through Northumberland before the next general election, which is due in 2029.
This is the major route from London to Edinburgh. It's very congested. It's especially congested in the summer when we have 10.5, 11 million people come and visit us in Northumberland to see our beautiful coastline, our beautiful countryside. We need to make sure that we can improve it. 8 people alone have died on the road this year.
Well, today, the Department for Transport have said that every death on our roads is a tragedy, and National Highways is looking at safety improvements to the A1, but we're told that the change to value for money rules would not have meant a different decision on that 13-mile dualling project. The response today from the government was word for word the same as that they sent 3 weeks ago when the Mayor and the leader of Northumberland County Council called for action. But things could be about to change, with Andy Burnham likely to become a Prime Minister next month. He has previously campaigned for much more investment in infrastructure in the north.
We will watch with interest. Tom at Westminster, thank you.
Now, you may have seen or heard a thunderstorm or two today, but it has still, hasn't it, been another record-breaking day temperature-wise. And people are being told to please take care if you're heading out to enjoy our coast or the countryside this weekend.
And Northumberland Fire and Rescue Service is working alongside landowners and the National Trust to highlight how easy it is for wildfires to start and then take hold.
It's after they had one of the highest years for call-outs last year. Madeline Leatherby has been finding out more.
You may remember these scenes from North Yorkshire, where last year wildfires raged across the moorland for over a month. Now people are being warned about the risks of wildfire in Northumberland following days of high temperatures. The Fire and Rescue Service working across the county to keep it safe. Last year, it responded to 16 wildfire calls, 4 times the number of the year before.
So down here on the ground we can already see we've got scorched earth, we've got scorched grasses here, so if you feel it, it's super dry. So all it takes is a little ignition, maybe a discarded cigarette, maybe a barbecue placed on this, and this could actually set fire. So the most common causes of wildfires at the moment are campfires, little campfires, open fires, and barbecues as well. And also things like glass bottles can start fires, so that's why we're asking people to take their litter home. Really what we want you to do is treat Northumberland like it's yours. Please pack a picnic, not a barbecue.
And while there's been some rain, the warm weather means the water will evaporate quickly and won't be enough to mitigate the risks. In the national park, they work with the fire service as part of the wildfire group, providing support should a fire start. For example, mapping locations to help refill water. Temperatures have reached some record levels over the last few days. This is a laser thermometer, and if I've pointed at the ground, we've been registering temperatures over 50 degrees, making this area an extreme wildfire risk.
You know, this is where wildlife lives, and it's exactly these sort of places, and particularly this sort of time of year when birds have still got nests. We've got, you know, the caterpillars from next year's butterflies potentially as well, so lots of insects, lots of bird life. Well, on the coast, I've got grasslands on the dunes. The impacts of the fire can remain, and it will take years to recover sometimes.
How long are wildfire seasons?
The wildfire is now a risk all year round, and the reason I think for that is probably climate change. You know, we are getting dry periods, you know, at all sorts of times of year, and you only need a few weeks of dry weather, particularly with a bit of drying wind as well, to actually increase that risk quite high.
The message is simple. Be careful, and if you see a fire, call 999. Madeline Leatherby, ITV News.
And the ITV Evening News continues after us at 6:30 with Lucrezia.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, storms after a week of extreme weather with another June heat record broken. In Venezuela, international rescue teams arrive as thousands are believed to be missing following 2 earthquakes in the country. Plus, England fans and footballers prepare for tomorrow's match with Panama. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, apart from the football, music venues in our region are getting ready for a very special weekend. They're taking part in a new nationwide festival.
It's called Everywhere at Once. Instead of one big festival in a field like Glastonbury, for example, instead organisers are putting on a number of smaller shows all over the country. James Webster has the details.
The last weekend in June, in most years, 200,000 people will be heading to Glastonbury for a weekend of unforgettable performances. But with no festival this year, grassroots venues are hoping to fill the gap with the Everywhere at Once festival. It's organised by the Music Venue Trust.
For a lot of people, these venues will be the stepping stone in their in an artist's career. So, you know, when we're talking about the next big Ed Sheeran, the next big Adele, and those artists are really important. But it's also about the artists where this is their actual final destination. You know, a lot of people, the grassroots circuit is their livelihood.
Across the weekend, more than 2,000 artists will be performing at shows in 400 different venues. One of them is the Grove in Byker in Newcastle.
Having Tyne here is great for us because not only are we having a brilliant, you know, world famous act playing the venue, but also it's exposing us to a brand new audience that may not have been to the Grove before or even heard of us. We're only 3 years old, we're not in the city centre, so kind of audience development, if you like, or new people finding us is always a bit of a thing, and we're always wanting to try and, you know, expand our community base and that kind of thing.
In and out of once for 15 hours Sunday nights. It's funny how they miss it, so it looks a bleeding sign.
The festival has the backing of some well-established artists, like Squeeze.
They're very cool for cats, they're cool for cats.
Its frontman, Glenn Tilbrook, is a prolific collector of music and supporter of new talent.
I think the first 18 months that Squeeze were together, we had 3 gigs in total. You know, it was a way to develop. It was a way to test yourself and to put yourself up against other people. I saw Coldplay, like right at the beginning of their career, and it was like a transformative gig because it was so good. It was, to me, it seemed obvious that they were going to be successful. To have the opportunity to see those things, furthermore, to have the opportunity for a band like that to get their feet in the door and to start gigging and get noticed, it's so important.
Rather than travelling miles to a festival in a field, the organisers of this new festival hope many fans find an unforgettable show on their own doorsteps. James Webster, ITV News.
It really is peak time of year, isn't it, for a music festival?
It is, yeah, absolutely. It's great to see the talent being spread around so everyone's got an opportunity to get involved as well.
Now, back to the football, because England's World Cup campaign continues tomorrow night with their final group game against Panama.
Yeah, if England win the game, then they win their group. It's live here on ITV1, and former England international Karen Carney will be part of the ITV sports team that's covering the match in New York.
And she's been speaking to our sports correspondent, Simon O'Rourke.
Well, Karen, thanks for joining us on ITV Tyne Tees. I can't help but notice that amazing view behind you. What is it like out there?
It's so good out here. I mean, I don't even need to say anything, you just need to have a look. It's just absolutely spectacular, the view and the backdrop and the set that we've got here at ITV. So I come up and it's breathtaking every time you come up on set, and you just have to keep remembering it, because it's not every day you get this opportunity and this view.
Also, being out there, you're on the England World Cup roller coaster. What do you think of England so far?
It's not been too much of a roller coaster. I do think the expectations were set and the bar was set with how good the first game was against Croatia. It was always going to be a difficult game and a different game against Ghana. But 4 points from 2 games, not mathematically there just yet, but fingers crossed we will be. And obviously we've got the Panama game to look forward to, and we'll be covering that game here at ITV, so on air at 8:45. Kick-off is at 10 o'clock. I'm a bit selfish here because I'm going to be pitch side, so I'm absolutely ecstatic. So going to be sensing the temperature, the pitch, the players, the vibe, everything. Me and Laura Woods are going to be there, so we're quite excited about being there. And obviously the team here will take it through for the rest of the game, so we're really ecstatic here and excited for the next game.
Lots of talk about Elliot Anderson with a possible transfer coming up, and obviously his first World Cup. He's a lad from Whitley Bay. How do you think he's doing so far?
Yeah. You know what, I'm a big fan of him. I've watched a lot of him this season when I've covered Forest in Europe. I love him. I think he's technically good. I think he's got a bit of grit, a bite about him. Good passing range, good energy, good tempo to his game. I think he's going to be a really big player for us. Maybe in the Ghana game it wasn't a game plan that necessarily suited him, but I thought he did pretty well. But I think he'll be a massive big player for us as the tournament progresses, and hopefully England go the whole way.
Well, that's the thing, I suppose. I've got to ask you, how far do you think England could go?
I think tournament football is about confidence, it's about momentum. I do think the team that Thomas Tuchel has picked, the squad rather, is for the latter stages. I think that's why we might struggle against teams that sit a little bit deeper, because we're a physical, aggressive, dominant team. So I expect that really to come into our fruition towards the back end, and I can see us quarterfinals. Let's see where we get there, and then let's see how those games go. But I think we'll grow in confidence as the tournament goes on.
If it's not England, who's going to win?
France. I've said France from the start. I'm not going to change my mind. The best team though at the moment is Argentina, so I wouldn't like to play them either.
Karen, that's brilliant. Enjoy the rest of the tournament. Thanks very much for taking some time out to join us.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Look at that view, the Empire State Building behind you. Brilliant. You heard Elliot Anderson mentioned in that interview there that Simon did with Karen Carney, and today it is being reported that Manchester City have signed the Whitley Bay-born midfielder for a club record fee. The Blues are reportedly paying £116 million to secure his services from Nottingham Forest. The 23-year-old made his name at Newcastle United, joining his boyhood club at the age of just 8 and making his first team debut in 2021.
Now, it's been the end of an era on the Tyne and Wear Metro as the network's original trains ran for the final time today.
The fleet, which entered service in August 1980, has been replaced by a new, modern rolling stock over the past 18 months.
Our correspondent Tom Barton has been on board the Class 599 Metro car, as it was known, as travellers bade it a very fond farewell.
As the 11:49 airport service pulled into South Gosforth today, it was already as busy as rush hour. Not because there were more flights going than usual, but because enthusiasts wanted to say goodbye to these old trains. Like father and son Darren and 10-year-old Charlie, spending the day riding the lines.
To be quite honest, they've been around that long now, it's a shame to see the old ones go.
They're my favourite train. And they're the first ever ones that I've gone on.
But not everyone on board had grown up with the Metro. Some had come from as far away as South London for this valedictory journey.
I've never been to Newcastle at all. All been on these trains before. So I thought, you know what, it will be a great first time and a last time to be on this. It's been around for so long. It's been like 46 years now. Of course, got to see it goodbye. Have to see it goodbye.
Today's train has been on the tracks since before Queen Elizabeth opened the Metro in 1981. And little has changed in 4.5 decades.
If there's one thing I think most people will say they miss about these trains, it is of course this, the fact that you can sit at the front and enjoy the view down the track. What people definitely won't miss though, especially on a day like today, is the fact that there isn't and has never been any air conditioning.
Sweltering in his cab, Richard is proud to be driving the last regular run of these old trains.
It's end of an era. As a child, I went down to the test track at Percy Main, never thinking I'd ever be a Metro driver, and here we are. Like I say, 26 years driving and 33 with the company.
And saying goodbye to these trains today will be emotional?
It will be emotional. I don't think I'll shed any tears because sadly I have to come back and drive the new ones. But yeah, it is quite sad.
The departure of the old trains signalling the arrival of a new era on the Metro.
It's exciting to look to the future and the new trains serving us every day and all day. But it is really sad to say goodbye to the old workhorses, our old 599s, who served the region so well and so iconically for nearly 50 years.
It is phenomenal that they've lasted as long as they have, isn't it?
Quite phenomenal. They were built for 30 years, and as I say, the youngest is 46 years old now. So it's a testament to engineering of the previous generation.
The doors closing on this chapter of Metro history. After decades of service, this rolling stock, rolling away forever. Tom Barton, ITV News on the Class 599 Metro car.
Yeah, farewell to those old Metros. We will not miss the lack of aircon on them though. Now, talking of which, punters have braved the heat and thunderstorms as well at Newcastle Racecourse for the second day of the historic Northumberland Plate Festival. Thousands of people are expected at the three-day event at Gosforth Park. It's known as the Pitman's Derby and it dates back to 1833. The main race, one of the most prestigious in Europe, is tomorrow afternoon during what's expected to be another exceptionally hot day.
It's been going for so long, hasn't it? I think it's over 100 odd years. So yeah, it's the first time I've been, to be fair. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Oh, the Northumberland Plate! It's the best ever racing festival in Newcastle. Year in, year out, never fail. I'll be here tomorrow. I promise you faithfully.
Any tips for us?
No.
So we have to be very mindful of how we prepare the track in hot weather, and you know, with it being an all-weather surface, it does take a little bit of a different preparation. And then obviously we have to be very mindful that we have over 300 equine athletes throughout the 3 days, and we have to be very mindful of how they're cared for. And we do everything in line with the British Horse Racing Authority's hot weather protocols. Trainers have been great to deal with. They've travelled their horses at the right times of day. You know, we've had horses coming to us through the night to ensure that when they are travelling, it has been as cool as possible.
Well, Ross joins us now, and we keep talking about the weather, but I have to say, it did seem very, very hot today.
Yeah, the humidity was building.
Quite impressive.
Yeah, and it's another day and another record. We've got very used to that this week. We held on to a record for 50 years for the hottest June day. It's gone 3 times this week. It now stands at 37.3 degrees recorded in Suffolk. Yesterday, 36.7, which beat Wednesday's 36.1, which beat 1976's 35.6, which seems pretty low compared to this now, nearly 2 degrees higher. We weren't too far off, as you've said. We've seen those temperatures climbing above 30 degrees in many places. North Yorkshire, 32 degrees, just short of our regional record of 32.2. That was matched on Tuesday, but not yet beaten. But we are still getting some figures in, so we'll know more in the next few hours. High temperatures, high humidity, high drama in the skies, thunder and lightning to start the day. And then to end the afternoon, after that sunshine made those temperatures soar, explosive development of clouds, particularly this afternoon. They have caused some issues today. We've seen some surface flooding, some roads flooded, lightning strikes as well. Dramatic end almost to this heat wave. Tomorrow, as we see, is going to be hot, not as hot as today. Sunday's looking like quite a relief. Here's the forecast.
Ancient sites will clear, bringing local dishes in the afternoon. 2 sponsors ITV Tyne's weather.
Another day of broken heat records for June. Scattering of thundery showers in the mix for good measure. Those are starting to ease through this evening. Into tomorrow, staying hot and sunny, although temperatures not as high as we've had today. And then into Sunday, that's where we start to see that real change. It's warm rather than hot. Sunny spells and a scattering of showers. At the moment, we have seen those top temperatures peaking towards North Yorkshire. Overnight, it is staying warm across many parts of the region. It's overnight Saturday into Sunday. We're watching these fronts starting to move their way in from the west. Breeze is picking up as well, lifting that humidity, starting to stir things up, and also the sign of this fresher air finally arriving from the west. I say fresher, temperatures still slightly above the average for the time of year. So for now, it is a warm, if not hot, end to the day. Overnight, quite a bit of cloud coming and going. You'll see the showers have disappeared. Clear skies developing at times, lighter breezes, but even with that, temperatures still holding up at around 18 degrees for towns and cities. It's another muggy night into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, starting the day with sunny spells and a scattering of showers. One of the differences tomorrow, the breezes are starting to pick up. The benefit of that, the showers move through quickly, and it starts to stir things up. We're losing a lot of that humidity as we head through the day, but still temperatures at a very, very warm 27, maybe 28 degrees. So for us, it's later Saturday into Sunday. We start to see the real change arriving. From the west, the fronts are queuing up to make their move. Bit of patchy rain take us into the first part of Sunday morning. A lot of that is starting to peter out, but of course it's behind that we'll notice that real difference. Staying breezy at times, bringing in that less hot air. So you'll notice the trend of those falling temperatures, although still holding up in the high teens or the low 20s.
2 sponsors ITV Tyne's weather. Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
Very much like our temperatures, our pollen levels have been very high over recent days, with things turning a little bit more unsettled, but not as hot conditions on the way. Those pollen levels are dropping down to high. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Ross. In just a moment, then the national and the international news.
I'll have your update just after 11:05. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.